Ever felt the undeniable urge to create a spiced up version of Earth? Do you constantly wonder about the world's makeup and the mysteries of the universe? Hi, I'm Shepherd Fox. Welcome to the Insolent Crown. In this series, we'll be diving into my physical world, exploring the big picture and creative decisions behind it. This is my world. Currently, it is unnamed, but that's part of the journey we'll embark on together. Naming it organically is important to me. Much like how our Earth got its name from the Germanic word erd, meaning ground, I want the name to my world to derive in an equally natural way. Crafting languages could get me to that sweet spot, but I haven't decided whether or not to dive into the deep and confusing well of language development. When I started building this world, I went through countless drafts. I tried various methods. The rice method, chip paint method. I hit a Pangea phase, and even borrowed shapes from Earth's landmasses. But nothing felt right. After months of trial and error, I decided on a layout that made me happy. Taking breaks and revisiting it ensured I didn't see any recognizable objects or animals in the landmasses. I think I succeeded. Tectonic plates were added after the initial map creation. It might seem odd, but I wanted to ensure I liked the world's shape before getting to this part of the process. Including tectonic plates helps create a scientifically plausible world, allowing me to determine where earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanoes may appear, as well as affording me future flexibility should I wish to pursue continental drift. What you are looking at is a collection of 18 shelves. I have laid it out so that lighter lines indicate a divergence between plates. Darker lines show transform boundaries where plates slide past each other, sometimes causing earthquakes, and red lines, marking convergences where plates collide. The side of the red line, where there are teeth, indicates the plate that is overtaking the other. For example, the central continental plate is overtaking the Arctic plate. The orange dots represent volcanic activity. Not necessarily volcanoes, but magma-related activity. These dots are where magma is formed by subducted plates heating up below the surface, mostly on the toothy side of the convergence line. However, some areas like Earth's India plate into Eurasia plate have no significant magma production due to there being a lack of a subducting partner. They are both level with one another, simply producing an epic mountain range. You might notice that most of my convergences are in frozen biomes or on islands. This plays into the world's mythos and aesthetic. As far as frozen volcanoes go, here on Earth, they aren't typical, or at least they aren't the first thing that comes to mind. My mind is more likely to go to Hawaii, or Pompeii, or even Mount Fuji. I want to create new concepts for volcanoes and cultures around tundras and islands. For the poles, I added rolling arrows to indicate the plate movements. Traditional maps make it hard to describe these movements. For all the other arrows, the longer they are, the more force is behind them. Well, wait, what about the lonely orange dots? Those indicate thin crust areas where volcanoes formed. I've seen plenty of content creators that caution about lonely mountains, that Tolkien shouldn't have created the lonely mountain. Well, when they're volcanoes, it doesn't matter. For the next couple sections, I rely pretty heavily on Artifexian and his world-building channel. If you, for some crazy reason, have never heard of his channel and want to get a lot of technical direction on how to build a world, go check him out. Biomes are a balancing act of air and ocean currents defining weather patterns. I'm still learning, as there's a unique touch I need to consider for my world. For now, jungles line the equator, deserts and steppes spread out from there, and continental, oceanic, and Mediterranean biomes fill in the rest. The gray areas to the north and south indicate permafrost and snow. These biomes are all determined by moisture availability and temperature. For now, biomes will be an ongoing effort. For instance, while making this video, I noticed my deserts are a bit dominant in my world, especially considering the larger land percentage it has compared to Earth. Land masses, specifically snow, ice, and deserts, are responsible for reflecting out a large portion of the sun's rays as a way to prevent overheating the globe. Now the special touch I mentioned earlier. I love adding extra flair. What adds more flair to a planet than a ring system? In my last video, I painted a landscape with a broken moon, which, by the way, I posted a narrated story to TikTok and a written one to Instagram based on that image. Anyways, when a moon is too close to its planet, it is destroyed by tidal forces over time. This area is called the Roche limit. Ultimately, any heavenly body of significant size within that zone will be crushed into a planetary ring. But wouldn't a ring system blot out the sun to the extent that life couldn't exist? That's a great question. Initially, the internet was telling me an event akin to a second ice age would occur, ending humanity as we know it. But I dove into some research papers and gathered enough confidence that a habitable world can exist with a ring. Now, just because it is plausible to have a ring system on your planet doesn't mean it won't come with some consequences, however. I suspect there will be some considerable weather changes and more intense peaks to the seasons, specifically around the solstices. Rings could block up to 2% of the sunlight heading for the planet's surface. Compare that to the clouds, which, depending on the type of cloud, can block between 10 and 90% of the sun's rays. In this animation I made to paint a clearer picture, you can see the purple section getting more transparent as it gets closer to the poles. This is to illustrate late fall, the darker purple, leading into the winter solstice, the lighter purple, and back into early spring, darker purple again. The closer to the equator the shadow gets, the more particulate matter the sunlight needs to break through. So, in months halfway between the solstices, cities near the equator are going to experience significant darkness, up to 60% light loss. On the other side of the ring, during a summer solstice, there would be a slight glare coming from the ring, reflecting the sun's light to the surface. This is illustrated by the yellow band mirroring the purple band. The closer to the solstice it gets, the wider area the glare hits, but the weaker it becomes. And the closer it gets to the equator, the stronger it gets, up to 15% increased sunlight, until it lines up with the equator exactly. Then there will be no glare at all. Overall, I suspect increased storms and heightened winter and summer temperature peaks. But I want to know what you all think. Drop your thoughts on what rings could do to an ecosystem. These 8 dots are crucial to the foundation of my lore, known as the crown of the world. Each point is a crystalline spire reaching higher than any mountain on the planet. They are also the birthplaces of each of my 8 base races. These spires are intrinsically connected to the moon's central crystal structure. When the moon and sun align, a beam of magical light is cast onto the world's surface. If this light makes direct contact with a spire for the first time, a new race is born. I compiled historical eclipse patterns on Earth, focusing on those between the negative 60 degrees and 60 degrees latitude. Based on my sample, I loosely estimate that once every 500 years, an eclipse could align with a spire. Beyond creating races, the beam has magical effects on the world. Anything it touches can be affected, the most potent of these effects being at totality. But that's a topic for my upcoming Magic Systems series, where I'll explore world magic, divine magic, and possibly racial magic. I'm still deciding how to approach it. If integrating real science into a fantasy world-building project excites you, consider subscribing and liking the video. I look forward to your questions and comments below. In my next video, I'll be touching on my draft run at a first race. The race creation series is one of the ones I am most excited for, because it is the area where I need the most improvement in my visual skills, but also the most interesting content to me. I hope to see you there.